Today is November 7th, 2016, and today is our day. So, we finally did it. I guess that's it, right?
We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it. We did it.
I'm still in shock.
I can't even talk. I was screaming in the car ride all the way home. Yeah. Okay.
It's ridiculous. I got texts about it before I actually saw the news, but this isn't the first time because there's been rumors and stuff. So I sort of desensitized myself to, getting excited about any new news about Young Justice.
Yeah.
Because there were so many rumors. And but Deadline is a pretty good source, and also Greg Weisman tweeted about it. And once I saw that, I got pretty excited.
Giving news cred to Greg, but I'm doing a terrible host right now because I did not introduce you at all. This is Cameron Bowen. He played Red Robin in Young Justice Season 2. And
just Robin. Tim Drake, but we never got to Red Robin.
Okay, yeah, but it sounds cool, but
hopefully maybe Season 3
you'll get an upgrade. Yeah, I know. Now we can talk about this is a real possibility now. That's great. Yeah. Okay, so I want to start off this conversation actually just a little bit about how I got involved. Way back then, I was a high school kid. 2013, right when the show ended. I'd been familiar with Greg's work starting from Spectacular Spider-Man, and just when I finished that series, I think Young Justice started. It took me, I think I was in the middle of the beginning of Season 2 when I started watching the show and everything. I followed that closely after a while, and it was pretty great just because Greg is a guy who does stories right. He does children's show justice, of course, pun intended, but he really does respect the audience whenever he makes a show. And I say this over and over again. I think that for me it was something a little more personal, just because I could watch the show, I could really relate to the characters, I kind of got what they were going through. And so I think for a lot of other fans of the show that really had this, it was their version of the Justice League. It was their version of Batman the Animated Series that you grew up with, right, Cameron?
Mm-hmm.
And to have this show that really spoke to an entire generation, I think was something that really drove people to stay with the show for a long time. I can still watch an episode and I can still kind of see myself in all these situations. And I guess overall it's been pretty great. In about 2014, I sent a little message to Greg through his website. He spent about a year before getting back to me on that page. But then he said, just tweet me.
He was pretty busy in that year.
Yeah, I know. I caught him one time, when I went to his office, just filling out those questions a year out and whatnot. But he's got a long list of questions. And I guess it's because people really admire his work and whatnot.
It spans generations.
Yeah, definitely. Gargoyles and then up to now. I'm really glad that he's still working, and I'm glad that he's got the show back now. I messaged him.
Of course, but Greg, I feel like, Young Justice is obviously very close to Greg, and and it's been something he's been wanting for a while. But Greg is always going to work. That's the thing. He always seems to have something going on. And like you said, it's crazy because this is a guy that I didn't know I was a fan of, but I was a fan of when I was a kid watching Gargoyles, And I've liked all of his shows. So, Greg is always going to work. Greg's going to be working longer than I'll be working.
Definitely. Yeah, I know. Such talent. It seriously is cross-generational, and it's incredible just how many people, whenever I bring up that, oh, I'm trying to do these interviews to bring back a show and everything, and people are like, oh, what did you do? And it's oh, this show, and this show. And then they'll be like, oh, I watched that. Yeah, I watched that. So it's just great. He's kind of the invisible blimp on, Warner and just every single edge of the industry, right? Star Wars Rebels, Spectacular Spider-Man, obviously Gargoyles. We have even, I think, Witch. He did a season of Witch, right? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that either, but I would after this. So but yeah, he's been very receptive to me too. So I just messaged him on Twitter, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead. We can set up an interview." And I think from there it was just he was very receptive to having me help when I pitched him the idea to start doing these interviews back in I think it was June or July of this year. Yeah, and I just started doing these interviews. I think the biggest one that I can have and cut in here is I think the one with Stephanie and Jason. Yeah, that really brought a lot of people back on board. I was making posts on, we have a Facebook group set up. I think we got like some thousands of people on it, and it was regularly getting just
wow.
Yeah, so I was really trying to work on my end to really motivate people to, come back, watch the show. I did like a lot of posts that just kind of motivated positive behavior and stuff like that. Just, take a picture of me watching the show on my TV with that or something like that. Something as simple as that really, I think, got a lot of people to inspire them to take their own action. Of course, I don't want to take any credit for this at all. It wasn't me. It was just all these fans that came crying, let's do a season 3. Let's do this again. Come on.
I know, it's so incredible because, Greg emailed us a few months ago. I think it was back in February.
Yeah, February, March was when we first got that, yeah.
And he was telling us, he was like, it's up to you guys, but if you want to start pushing the show, whatever, it's on Netflix. And when season 2 came out on Netflix, and we all kind of did our own thing, but man, the fans responded so beautifully, and
right.
I'm still so in shock that something like this could happen. I like I said, I was pretty pessimistic. I thought there was always a chance the show would come back, but the fact that it happened through all of the fandom is absolutely incredible. I mean, you look at shows that have been brought back, like animated shows like Family Guy or something, and to have it with this type of show too, something that's such a throwback to like just classic animation, as far as like what I grew up with, it's such a beautiful show with really great acting and really great directing, voice directing, and art directing, and it's drawn beautifully and produced, and the music, and I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it, but so incredibly grateful that as a fan, we're gonna get a season 3.
Yeah, you just gave me tingles on my spine because you're absolutely right. It's just like, in America, we don't really view animation as like truly something artistic, and I think that Greg shows really just kind of they're like that Pixar. They're like that, they're meant for everyone, and that's something that's really great. It's like hard to find. So that's why it's just like, when I was like, okay, what if I did this just to help out? It's like, yeah, it really gets people to really want to, stand up and then let's do something about it. Let's have a dramatic animation show that not only kids can enjoy, but adults, teens, everyone can, really come to these and really find, something that they relate to in these shows. It's really great to have a show like that, And
it's 30 minutes, which
I know, yeah.
So few animated shows are 30 minutes at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. That said, it's time. I think I'm going to start making more videos petitioning for me to cameo in Young Justice Season 3.
Heck yeah.
Wink. Wink. Yeah. Oh, God. Greg's going to have my head for that. But, yeah. It's going to be great.
At this point, my fingers are crossed that I'm going to be involved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's the thing is, all of us were excited for the show to come back, but I'm not taking for granted that that it's going to be the same characters.
Yeah,
because of how secretive they were about the first season. The second season, and then they added all these characters.
Right.
And they pretty much stuck with their voice cast from the first season in one way or another. They brought back Yuri Lowenthal.
That's right.
Lagoon Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I don't know, Red Robin would be cool. If they did end up going 5 years again in the future, whatever they're doing. I'm sure Greg has something up his sleeves, it being 4 years in the making.
Yeah, definitely. Greg's a guy who's known for bringing back all his old cast members, I think he really does. I don't know, just from what I've done through these interviews, I feel like he really does forge like some bond with you guys to like, really want to pull you back, get you more work.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah, I know, truly. Just the fact that he's so receptive, he's so open and welcome to the fans and everything whenever they approach him. I ran into him at a convention. I think it was in Sacramento, and I just like said hi to him, and then he was just like, he's cool with it. It's just great. Overall, it's the sort of community that's really formed out of this show. And I think everyone truly got united, like, this year in particular, over, trying to bring it back. I remember back when I was in high school. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, and this was, really, the first era that this could happen because of social media.
Right.
Because of where we're at technologically. everything kind of had to come together so perfectly. I cannot believe that it actually did. It's so surreal. I'm still very much in shock. I called my mom. I was like, guess what?
You had a job again, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was about to say, I remember, like, just when I was in high school in 2013, when the show ended, I did the completely just, like, ineffectual thing that I realized, like, nowadays, if you're right, if we didn't have social media, this wouldn't have happened. I sent one of those, like, there's a letter writing campaign way back then. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but fans of the show back then actually wrote letters and mailed it to Warner Brothers asking for the show back.
I remember that.
I was one of those saps.
Greg kept stressing he would, like, be polite, in your letters.
Oh, yeah.
That you use good language.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. And I know. I love that.
Anger, too, about them canceling it.
That's right. Yeah, I know. But at the same time, I think that, especially now, everyone really, did try to do that, with what Greg really wanted, and I think that's really what earned it back, over time. It definitely wasn't something that just happened. It was definitely earned, I feel like. So, I mean,
yeah.
Well, right now I'm trying to look through all my old posts to find the questions, because I did have a Q&A for you. Yeah, just regarding your character as Robin in season 2. Well, I mean, how do we go back to that after all that excitement? Can you just tell me a little bit about how you approached the role and just what it was like, hopping into the booth for the first time as Robin?
Yeah. So I'm sure Eric told you. Did Eric tell you about how the audition process went?
Right. Yeah. It's kind of cold.
How we didn't know what we were auditioning for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was this show, Cloud Ninja, and I was auditioning for the title role, and I was actually in a acting workshop at the time with Richard Horvitz, who who was the voice of Invader Zim and Angry Beavers.
Yeah.
And he was The Grim Adventures of Bill and Mandy, I think it was called. Anyway, really great guy, really great teacher. And I'd worked with Jamie Thomason before, the voice director. And so when I got the audition, I recorded it at a studio, and I got the call back. And so I brought it in to my session with Richard Horvitz, and we worked on it. And then I went in for the audition, and still no idea, Cloud Ninja. And I saw Jason Marsden at the audition.
Yeah.
And flipped out because, I mean, that dude voiced so much cool stuff from my childhood. The Goofy movie, obviously, but The Weekenders, Static Shock. What am I forgetting? Obviously, the on-camera stuff, Boy Meets World and Full House. And,
yeah.
But I'm forgetting something. Anyway, I was just so in awe because I recognized him. And, I shook his hand and we were talking or whatever. And Jamie came out to get me. And I went and I was super nervous. And Jamie's kind of like he's not overly complimentary. He's not one of those voice directors who wants you to feel super like you're the talent, Yeah. And it really adds to the performance a lot because it's sort of like a back and forth. And when you start to feel comfortable with him, which I'd already worked with him, so it was, we already had that rapport. When I left, I put my hand on the doorknob and he goes, "Hey, you didn't suck." And so that was sort of my first chance at Tim Drake. And then I got the call from my agent a little bit later, and she said, "You booked Robin." And I said, "Oh, great. What are you talking about?" And she goes, you booked Robin." And I was like, "For what?" But she goes, "For Cloud Ninja." And I said, I auditioned for Cloud Ninja." And she goes, "Well, you booked Robin." So I was like, "Okay, great. Well, it's a booking. So that's wonderful." And I didn't know it was for Young Justice until the day that I went in there. And they explained to me that it was Robin as in Batman and Robin. And so I kind of had to because they didn't give me the script beforehand. So I kind of had to, and I was in a lot of the first episode of the second season. Jamie and I worked on the character, and it was very similar to what I did in the audition, maybe a little bit younger than what I ended up doing. The audition was maybe a little bit younger. And it was after the first episode that I really fell in love with the character, and I was able to do research and see a lot of myself in him. You know, he's very different from Dick Grayson because his predecessor was murdered. So there's not so much of like the happy-go-lucky arrogance of Dick Grayson.
Right.
There's much more calculated. He doesn't want to screw up. He wants to be a leader. He's kind of thrown into that situation. He wants to control everything. And he still wants to have fun, but that takes a back seat to getting the job done.
Yeah, definitely. You know? Yeah.
And I just find that's so real, you know? It's so honest.
Yeah, and that's something like a lot of teens go through too. It's just like, you know, the way that was written, I like the first time watching through that, you know, he's very worried about his role, you know, like stepping into the shoes of this, you know, like, you know, that legacy, right? And, you know, I think over the course of the season, you know, he kind of loosens up like by the end, right? You know, I think he starts a thing with Wonder Girl too at the end.
Yeah, Mae Whitman.
Yes.
So, you know, I did the first episode, and you know, Tim is in a lot of episodes just where he doesn't speak. So I didn't work again until the fifth or sixth episode. And in that time, he'd grown up a lot. You know, a lot happened in the show between the first and the sixth episode. And so I tried to do that. I tried every time I came in to maybe have him mature a little bit to where, you know, in the last episode, when all that happens, I think he ended up in a very nice place where he's able to take on more of a leadership role and focus on a little other things like maybe love. And hopefully we get to see more of that. I would love to see that relationship blossom.
Definitely, yeah. He definitely figures out over the course of the season that balance, you know, and I think that's really critical, you know. Even if you don't have a speaking line in there, he's there and he's growing up, and it's great that, you know, you really incorporated that into the character.
Thanks. Yeah. I had such a blast. You know, I got my SAG card in 95, and I did a bunch of cartoon shows when I was a kid. I did Blue's Clues, and I have a show on HBO that's still running from when I was like 9 years old. And I have to say that, I mean, especially in voiceover, but even in all the stuff I've done in that 20 years, this is the coolest project I've been a part of, because it's something that I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to play a superhero, and I got to work with actors who I admire so much, and obviously Greg, and I just got to fill so many dreams that I didn't really think were as attainable as some of the on-camera stuff I was doing, or theater. You know, this was something that I wanted so bad and I worked so hard for. So it means a lot to hear people say that they enjoyed the performance, because I didn't take it lightly. And, you know, maybe for the audition process, a lot of it felt like a lot of pressure. A lot of it felt like a lot of work, you know? And it wasn't until I was actually able to get in the room with the other actors and do the scenes in chronological order, which you never get to do with animation, or I hadn't really gotten to do that. And I was able to actually let loose and have fun and really enjoy myself and be inside this character. And it was such a blast and so unreal at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
I still get goosebumps talking about it.
Sounds truly incredible. I mean,
yeah, it really is, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
Hopefully one day, you know, I feel like, you know, a lot of the fans too really want to be there, including myself, you know, but you know, one day,
yeah, well,
your story's inspiring.
It's never been more attainable. You know, people come from all the different walks of life. I mean, like I said, I came from like a theater background, but there are guys in the show who came from comedy. Like Eric came from comedy, you know, and like everybody comes from all different types of places to get to where to get to, you know, work as an actor. But it's never been more attainable than it is right now, because there's so many ins. Just the fact that you could hit up Greg Weisman off of social media or a website or something is so different than how we would have handled it in the early 2000s or the late 90s.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, don't give up. I mean, if that's really what you want to do, you can do it, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for those words of encouragement. And I think that rings true for everyone too. Yeah.
I think, you know, I think that a lot of voice actors are in the same boat with their fans, where we're all fans of what we're doing and we're all fans of what we're seeing. and we all feel so incredibly grateful to be doing what we're doing, you know, because it is such a community. It's such everyone's involved. You know, you go to these conventions, or, you know, you go to audition rooms with other actors, and it's not like, I don't want to talk poorly about on-camera stuff, but it's very different. It's the audition process. It's very different being in an audition room with other actors, because there's such a feeling of community. And you'll hear Kari Payton talk about, I think it was Phil Lamar, auditioned for Aqualad, and he didn't book it. And then he heard Kari Payton do it, and he said, oh yeah, that's why. It's because it's Kari's voice. Of course he was going to book that. That's his character, you know. And I've heard that so many times. I've heard, you know, voice actors be happy for other actors booking the role, you know. And it just feels like such a community with the fans and the actors together. It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And it feels very inclusive, whereas with other facets of the industry, it's not really. It feels like there's a definite wall between the creatives and the fans, you know?
Yeah. And definitely my goal throughout the show has been to, you know, like really empower the fans, I think, above all else. It's really been to like bring them in on this. Let's see what the people are saying. Let's see if they're still with us, you know, and everything. So I'm glad I was able to be a part of that and to really get a lot of the fans like encouraged enough to take action on their own part.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And, you know, I tried to stay involved as much as possible, but I'm pretty ignorant about like exactly how much effort went into this whole campaign. I really just saw from my bubble, you know, what people would tag me in, looking at the hashtag every so often. But I have so much gratitude to everybody who made this happen, because as a fan of the show, I can't wait for a third season. I mean, the voice cast on this show was already so incredible on the first season, and then they brought in all these other actors who are just home run hitters. You know, they don't do bad work, and they work so hard, and they're so fun to be around, that I just cannot wait to see what happens for the third season.
Yeah, I can't either. That said, Young Justice Protest, this one's for you. I've got the fan questions, and I think this one's going to be fairly easy, because, so how long will it take for us to get Young Justice Season 3?
Hey!
There's your answer! There's your answer!
I'd go with November. What is today? November 7th.
Yeah.
November 7th.
That's like a good day, right? You know, I like that day. That's perfect. Does he know if Netflix is going to renew Young Justice?
I don't actually know. Do you know?
Oh man, I don't know.
They didn't release a network, right? We're not attached to anything, right?
Yeah, that's true. It didn't say Netflix or it didn't say Cartoon Network yet, you know. But I mean, I'm glad they're diversifying it. Yeah.
Oh, you cut out. What'd you say?
Oh yeah, I just cut out too. But yeah.
What'd you say? You cut.
Oh yeah. I'm glad. Like I think Warner Bros is trying to diversify because they've got, you know, Teen Titans Go going on, and more on the comedic edge of it, right? You know, show works too and everything. But then they have Young Justice as well, you know. So then we have the drama stuff too. So that's great that there's going to be this balance now and everything.
Yeah. The feed is cutting out just a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No worries. I think we can wrap this up too.
End? Can you hear
and
me?
Whatnot. Oh yeah. I can hear you on my end over here, and most importantly, the fans can hear. So I wanted to thank you again for your time today. Yep, it's freezing up.
You've gotten a little bit better. You just started sounding like a robot.
Oh yeah, no, I always sound like a robot anyways. But yeah, thanks for your time. You know, today I really appreciate it. The one drawback.
My pleasure, man.
The one thing I'm going to be sad about is that I won't have an excuse to do any more of these interviews. I mean, I wanted to talk to Mae Whitman and Allison Stoner and, like, you know, everybody else in the cast, too. But, you know.
Keep doing it, man. I mean, like I said, that's the one thing I've learned about this cast in particular is everybody loves it. I mean, Allison Stoner's with my agency, and I saw her in the office the other day. And we were talking about the show and how much we'd love it to come back. And, like, I mean, everyone feels the same way. You know, I mean, really the only one that I hang out with on a regular basis is Eric. But, like, you know, him and we talk about it every single time we hang out.
That's such yeah.
And, you know, I mean, it just seems like, not, you know, everyone's excited not just because they get to work again. You know, everyone's excited. This is a real pleasure and a real honor to get to be a part of.
And it's a real honor to be interviewing you from this end too. Thank you so much, Cameron.
Thanks,
really
man.
appreciate it.
Get it.
Yeah.
Great to see you, man.
Oh yeah, and real quick, this contest is still going on. It's not over. So if you'd like to still submit for this, post your videos on my Twitter, and then I'll put you in the running for a win. I'll judge the videos myself, and whoever wins the contest gets a signed Young Justice shirt. Superboy shirt from Greg Weisman. So.
Whoa.
It's not this one. It's not the one I'm wearing, because that'd be disgusting, but I have another one right over there. Yes. Well, thanks again, Cameron. I really appreciate it. Preston, Cinepresto, signing out. Yeah. Whatever my name is. I'm too excited to even do this. I'm too excited. Okay. Thanks so much.